congratulations to SHAI Alexander. I'm not going to take any shots at the kid. Very well deserved. I love the kid. I love everything about his story, coming from Kentucky, a guy that really wasn't even the superstar over there when he was there. A lot of people were questioning if the guy was going to transition into the NBA the way he did. So it's an amazing story. And if you know anything about SHAI Alexander, he's a Canadian player, and a lot of Canadians that come into the NBA are really not successful. They're really not. Could you name the last Canadian that won an MVP? The answer?
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash was the last one. He's the only one. He was the only one from Canada that's won an MVP, and he won 2 of them. SHAI Alexander has a chance to win 3, maybe even 4 of them. He is a special player. But I'm sorry, Jokic was the best player in the NBA all season long. I'm not going to – there's no question that he was. To average a triple-double as a big man and the way he did it in a Western Conference, that is more impressive than scoring 32 points and
But
5
you
rebounds
brought
and
this
6
up,
assists.
Errol. It's what the NBA or the LGA, however you want to call it.
There you go, LJA.
Is they didn't want to give it to him. Like, how do you not give a guy that is a big man averaging a triple-double, because he's already got his MVPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you stated on this show plenty of times, and you're 100% right, because you call it. It's like he should get another one, but they're not going to give it to him because they want this other avenue of a guy, which
talent. Yeah.
Dope. He's a great player. Dope what he did for his teammates, buying them all Rolexes. Like, good for him. Like, that's awesome, because it shows that he understands how important his teammates are, whether he's doing it to show face or that's who he is. I don't know him as a person, so I can't speak on that, but it's great that he did that to his teammates. But I agree with you 100%. You called it from the beginning when we started talking about this, that he was going to get the MVP, but Jokic is the best player. When you average a triple-double in the standards that he's doing it, position that he's doing it, without a doubt, like he's going to be in the conversation every year, because we haven't seen a big man like that do what he does. He's
the greatest big man we've seen really since Tim Duncan. Honestly, if you go back at the positions that both of them play, and obviously he plays a 5. Tim Duncan played the 4 and a 5, but Tim Duncan revolutionized the game the way he did as an anchored defender, and he was boring to watch, but he did it so well. Okay,
he made the bank shot sexy.
Yeah, he made everything sexy because he always won. And if you ask Greg Popovich, when was the last time Greg Popovich won a championship? You can't remember, because Tim Duncan was on that team. And I'm sorry, Greg Popovich was only as good as the player that he coached, and that was Tim Duncan. As far as I'm concerned, Jokic is the best player in the NBA. There's no argument to that. I think SHAI absolutely believes that too. The fact is, the NBA has been doing this for a long, long time. This is factual. The NBA is not going to give these guys back-to-back-to-back MVPs, because if that was the case, LeBron James should have won 5 of them in a row. Michael Jordan should have won 10 of them in a row. Michael Jordan was by far the best player in the NBA for like 10 or 11 years straight. And if Michael Jordan didn't retire the 2 years after his father died, he probably wins 7, 8, maybe even 9 championships in a row. The guy was unbelievable, the greatest basketball player of all time. SHAI Alexander, he kind of is unique on the game and the way he plays the game. He's a great offensive player. He reminds me a lot like an offensive Kobe Bryant. The guy can do everything on the basketball court. He can shoot threes. We've seen him shoot fadeaway threes. The guy is an absolute offensive phenomenon. He's also an unbelievable defender. I think people forget how good SHAI is defensively. Kobe Bryant was a great two-way player. Michael Jordan was a great two-way player. SHAI Alexander, when he came into the league, nobody knew how good his offensive game was going to transition there. His game really coming to the NBA, and as why he was such a high draft pick, was his defensive style of game. And why do you think guys like Calipari actually recruited him? It wasn't because of his offensive side of the game. It was his defensive prowess. And look what he's turned out to be. We've seen players come into the league and transition their games. We mentioned the Spider. When he came into the league, he was a defensive player. Louisville, Pitino recruited him because of his defensive prowess. When he came into the NBA and he was drafted 13th or 14th, the Knicks wanted him. When he came into the league, he transitioned his game at Utah to an offensive style of game. He kind of took away from the defensive side of the game and transitioned into that style of NBA game that a lot of these players are playing now. Kawhi Leonard, When he came into the league.
Do you think they value defense when they come into the league as much as
middle
they
draft
used
picks
to?
especially, because you're not going to get
Of course.
There's a lot of great shooters in college that are just going to be either undersized or not athletic enough to be in the NBA. With defense, it usually requires a lot of athleticism.
Here's the problem. We mentioned Karl Malone, okay? Karl Malone never played a lick of defense. Anybody watch the Utah Jazz in the olden days? Was anybody a Utah Jazz fan? He never played. The mailman. That's why they called him the mailman. Does anybody know why they called him the mailman?
I actually watched Utah because that's where my dad went to
Because
college.
he delivered.
That's right. He delivered, and he never delivered a championship. That's what I always say. And John Stockton was one of the greatest point guards of all time that people don't know.
I was a Jeff Hornacek fan.
Yeah.
Well,
I was basically you get it into him and or kick it out to Hornacek.
Yeah, well,
right?
Yep.
Yeah, guess what? I did like Jeff Hornacek until he coached the New York Knicks. Right. Then I couldn't stand him. I couldn't stand looking at him. Okay,
I had to throw that
Jam
in there.
team too. Look, I agree with Joba. I think great offense beats great defense in the NBA. Like you can hit a really hard shot over someone playing perfect defense. That happens all the time in the NBA. So I think when they draft, they're always looking for offense first. But defense, super duper important in the scheme. SHAI Alexander has shot 52% from the field this year, and he's a three-point shooter. And he shot 37.5 from three. But you know how many shots were that close to the rack compared to the average person? Jalen Brunson, who has a great shooting percentage, shoots 48.9. That's how good Alexander was this year shooting the ball. So the reason why you got to give him this award is he just hit every shot.
That's not
it
why
just
they
felt
gave him
like
the award.
He would hit every shot. Comparatively, look, a great interior guy is going to shoot like 60%.
When was the last time?
Guard,
when was the last time you seen a player get a triple double and not win the MVP?
I know. Well, I mean Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook, James Harden. Both those players won the MVP. And by the way, they weren't even the leading scorers of the league when they won the MVP. So don't give me that crap. That's why he deserves it. Don't give that to me. A triple-double is harder.
So here's the thing, though. You know the reason why he got it over Jokic
Why is that?
Isn't just the stats. It's because you always give the MVP to the team on the historic team.
Disagree.
With the amount of wins.
Disagree.
68 wins
Disagree.
compared to 52. You're giving it to the guy on the 68-win team if it's close. Mm-hmm. And that's how it's been in the NBA forever. They've always done that.
Mm-hmm.
So Fish, what does MVP mean then?
Well, that's the great debate, right, Java?
That's what everyone debates
Is it
at every
most valuable
sport.
to your team? Because, if it's most valuable to your team, it's Jokic. Because without Jokic, that team wins 20 games.
Right.
I mean, Porter's washed up.
So
Murray's good every other game.
Russell Westbrook won the MVP, right? Was his team...
Not both seasons that he had it.
It doesn't matter. When he won an MVP, was his team the best team in the NBA?
No, well, I think it's big difference.
I rest my case. You just said...
I would have voted for
rest
Jokic.
my
I'm just
case.
trying to be the devil's
Was
advocate.
James Harden...
And try to explain.
Was James
Harden
Harden...
won MVP.
I'm just saying, was James Harden... Was he on the best team when he won the MVP? No! That's a bunch of crap.
James
a
Harden's
bunch
not
of crap.
If Chris Paul doesn't get
Screw
hurt
the NBA, the
in
LJA.
that conference finals...
Screw them all.
And
Adam
they
Silver
beat
and his
the-
big-ass,
they beat
buck-ass ears.
Steph.
Friggin' donkey
Look,
himself.
we all know that was better than the finals that year.
Can't
when it was
stand
Chris
Adam
Paul
Silver.
and James Harden on that Houston team versus that Steph team. And that was, I think Durant was that. Is that one
Durant's
of the Durant
first year.
years?
Yep, Durant's first year.
That was a really close series, and then Chris Paul blew out his hamstring, and then it was a walk-off. Right? It was like nothing there, and Harden didn't show up Game 7. It was over.
Just like every other game.
Before that happened, they were even, man. I think Harden had the ability to win that year if Paul stayed healthy.
Maybe, but James Harden's not going to be able to do it.
Coulda, should.
Even if he won the MVP.
I'm just saying, look.
I'm tired of hearing this. It's
Alexander, 32
garbage.
points a game.
Sell this
52%
to
from the
whoever you
field.
think doesn't know basketball. That's a bunch of crap. And for you to think for 1 second Jokic shouldn't have won the MVP just shows you how much you want to lick his ass